Hey everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, and it's time for Rob Walker's vinyl tag for 2024 about all the records that we've been listening to and brought into our collection during 2023. And he's got his 20 questions, so to keep things as efficient as possible and the video not go too long, we'll get started. And the first item he has is, what's my favorite purchase from 2023? And I've talked about this record a lot, and this really is my favorite purchase. I mean, there was a lot of great records, a lot of really, really great records that I picked up. But this is my favorite, Ryuichi Sakamoto and his final release, 12, which was released, I believe he died shortly after its release. It was released, I think, in March of 2023. Remarkable. I've talked about this in other videos, but this truly is a remarkable collection of beautiful pieces of piano, grand piano, with at times layers of electronic and synthesizer music. Just, yeah, stream it, listen to it. This really remarkable album. Not necessarily listen to it all in one sitting. It is an intense album, but it's clearly my favorite purchase of the year. All right. The last record that I bought in 2023, another really, really great record, and that is this one by The Who. The Garrig is the name of the album, but it's also known as Rumble of Thunder. On very cool red vinyl, Mongolian, throat singing, hard rock, heavy metal. Okay, The Who, really excellent stuff. All right, question number 3 is a band or singer who released 2 or more albums in the same year. It's not something that happens all that often within the last 10 to 20 years. It used to happen quite a bit, though, in the past. And the records that I chose include the Grand Wazoo by Frank Zappa and Waka Jawaka. These were both released in 1972. This was when he was recovering from injuries sustained when he was assaulted at, I believe it was the Rainbow Theatre in London, and broke his leg, crushed his larynx, multiple broken bones in this assault when a fan came up on the stage and threw him off the stage because he was looking at his girlfriend too much, I guess. Both of these on the originals on the Bizarre label. Really good jazz fusion, the way Frank Zappa would do jazz fusion. Some really great classic songs on there. If I could only listen to music from what decade would that be? And I'm going to go with the 70s. I was in junior high school and high school, and the first few years of college were all in the 1970s for me. And it is musically such a diverse decade, because, it was kind of a tough choice, because you've got the 60s and the Beatles are in the 60s, right? So by choosing the 70s, that's the only music I could listen to, although there's another question that sort of negates that. But I wouldn't be listening to the Beatles. Their last release was in 19. Well, now I can't remember. when their final releases, if it was 69 or 70. I guess, yeah. But the real bulk of them was in the 60s. However, the 70s, you had psychedelic rock hitting its peak, but there were some bands that came out of psych rock and went into the 70s that really provided major shifts in what was going on in the music world with Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. You had the hard rock and stoner rock developing, but then so many other different musical genres were developing and unfolding in the 70s, like jazz fusion, and a lot of electronic music was really growing in popularity. Then you had disco and funk and soul. Soul was probably bigger in the 60s, but funk and like I say, the jazz fusion, and then later we get in the decade you've got the development of punk. So it's just an incredible decade for music. So yeah, if I could only listen to music from one decade, it would be the 70s. All right, a singer or band from Manchester, which is Rob Walker. That's where he lives, is in Manchester. And I'm going to be a little cheeky with this one. I'm going to go with the Bee Gees. And you're going to say, wait a minute, the Bee Gees are Australian. Well, yes, they were, but the Gibbs were born in England, and during their not in Manchester, but the family moved to Manchester during their formidable years, I should say. And they had a band, a skiffle band, while they were there in Manchester. And then the family immigrated to Australia, and then that's when the Bee Gees came. But the Gibbs, hey, they're from Manchester, okay? Deal with it. So a singer or band that I listened to the most in 2023, when I consider the band and everything that they have produced, clearly for me it's going to be Car Seat Headrest, particularly because of this release, which is How to Leave Town. The only way you can listen to this is electronic versions. I don't do Spotify, and I hardly listen even to Apple Music. So I just download and burn a copy. But yeah, Car Seat Headrest for sure, listening to all their material. And probably the most often I'm listening either to How to Leave Town or Nervous Young Man. Really been getting into those releases quite a bit. Show 7 7-inch singles. Okay. So what I got here, first one is this. I don't have a lot, okay? I don't have a lot of 7-inch singles. There are a few others that I would like to get, however. But anyway, this one here is the Grateful Dead, Brown Eyed Women. It's a live recording from the Auditorium Theater in Chicago and from 1977. The flip side is also from the Chicago Auditorium Theater in 1971, and that's Cumberland Blues. This was a promotional thing at Wrigley Field. Go to a Cubs game, and if you bought a ticket in certain sections, then you got this for free, which quickly escalated in value, and I think it's at least a $50 single now. But yeah, that was also the first time that I ever went to a Cubs game. First and only time that I ever went to a Cubs game, although I'm very much a Cubs fan. This one here is the single Shot with a Diamond and The Nail Will Burn Out. This is from the band Loop. It came with a Loop album that I purchased. So we're talking kind of shoegaze, noise, drone-like music. Even though there are, 5 singles in 7 inches in this set, I'm only counting this as one. This was a record store day release that I picked up actually after the fact. This is Kenny Dope, Brazil 45, and Mr. Bongo. So this is a collection of Brazilian pop music, and let's see, mostly from, it's pretty good, it's very good compilation. I mean, I've listened to it a few times, but I think, yeah, it's mostly from the 70s, and some nice mixes in here. Yeah, the golden era of Brazilian music. So we've got Brazilian funk and soul going on here. So yes, this is Brazil 45. Next one is the 7-inch single for I Feel Love. All right, the Donna Summer. I also have the 12-inch single of this one, the extended mix, but all right, Donna Summer. And then this, came with the release New Traditionalist. This is Devo, Working in a Coal Mine. Wonderful little single that came with the LP. This is a really fun single. This is Jerks in Progress by the band Molotov Cocktail, punk band. So really, really good. You got Drive, and then Aliens, and then Jerks in Progress, and TCTS. This is Alternative Tentacles release. So very, very punk. And then this one here is a 7-inch single of Walk Away Renee by the Left Bank. So you got your very sort of Baroque cover to it, a very Baroque, hit song. It's also got Evening Gown, Bryant Hotel, Nice to See You, which I think all come from the album Walk Away Renee and Pretty Ballerina. So those are my singles. And the band's from Brooklyn. What's next? Okay, who's coming to your party? Okay, so choose 4 music-related people to come to an imaginary dinner party, past or present. Who would I invite? Well, my selection was based on the conversation that I hope would go on with this. And so I would invite Will Toledo of Car Seat Headrest. I would invite Syd Barrett, one of the founding members of Pink Floyd. I would invite Joni Mitchell, because she was certainly very well connected. That just, with her music and her songwriting, and fantastic career there, but she was very connected in that Los Angeles scene with a lot of others. And then Bjork, I would have her in there as well to talk about what she's sort of done in music and that. And then I think we might talk about music for a while, but I think we would talk about a lot of different things, and it would be a fun dinner party. But that's who I would invite: Will Toledo, Syd Barrett, Joni Mitchell, and Bjork. All right, so a musician that died in 2023, there was, quite a few that I dearly missed, but I think the one that I probably missed the most, or at least, I don't always pull out records to listen to records of musical artists that had died. Sometimes I'll pull one record. But when Jeff Beck died, I pulled out my entire Jeff Beck collection and listened to them all. Jeff Beck, an amazing guitar player of musical styles and genres, and just incredibly influential. It was really a sad moment. But another person, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to add another one here. And that's Jim Gordon, the drummer. He was with Derek and the Dominoes. He played with Frank Zappa. He played with Traffic. He was a session drummer on a lot of recordings. And A Troubled Soul, fantastic drummer though, really, really incredible drummer, but a troubled soul. He died in prison serving a life sentence for viciously murdering his mother. He People thought his problem was alcoholism, but it was schizophrenia. It wasn't until he was in prison that I think it was diagnosed. And so, yeah, while he was out in the world, he did some very sketchy things, such as with the song Layla, that piano coda at the end that's attributed to him. Well, he stole that. He ripped that off from a former girlfriend who had written that piece, and he passed it off as his. So, yeah, he did a lot of sketchy things, but man, what an incredible drummer. I mean, you listen to his drumming, it's just amazing. If you could only listen to music from one country, what country? Well, wow, this was really, really difficult because, as I mentioned, I would stick with the decade of the 70s, and that means I wouldn't necessarily be listening to the Beatles. Great Britain, I would probably say Great Britain rather than just England, so that I could include bands from, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. So it's real difficult, but there's a lot of really great music over many, many years coming out of Great Britain. Then again, the U.S., you've got the blues, you've got the, soul music, which although, the Brits did really well with blues. And then of course you've got jazz, and then bluegrass music, the folk music of the U.S., even with the country music, some of the more roots-based country music from the U.S., and then rock and roll. It's really tough, but I'm gonna, and again, I'm excluding listening to the Beatles, and I guess, hell yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with Great Britain. I was gonna go with the U.S., but I guess I'll go with Great Britain because it's just such an enormous opportunity catalog of music to choose from. All right, 3 VC channels discovered. This is question number 11. 3 VC channels discovered in 2023. There's DJ Vinyl Vertigo. This is someone who has been commenting on our Gunkles videos. So I just, because of him leaving comments on our videos at the Gunkles, I, looked him up, and it's been very, very enjoyable watching and listening to him talk about music. I mean, it's one thing just to talk about, like doing, and sometimes I fall in that rut where I'm just kind of like doing a report, but I did, to really talk about how the music impacts you and what might have been going on in your life at the time, DJ Vinyl Vertigo brings that into his experience, and so that's great. Soren Vinyl is another one. Young guy in college, just started college, I believe. Very much into psych music. I don't know what his name is. It might be Soren, but I don't know. Because he never as far as I can tell, I've never heard him introduce himself by name in any of his videos. But I do enjoy watching them because he talks a lot about psych music in bands that seriously I've never heard of. I guess I'm not. I wasn't that much into a lot of psych music. I like it, but it just was an area that I never ventured that deeply into. But yeah, it's been fun watching him. And then Donovan at I'm Hard for Hard Bop. So as the title suggests, it's a jazz-oriented channel. Again, young guy in college, talking about all these records from the 50s and the 60s, which I really enjoy, because he talks about jazz records and jazz artists that I'm very familiar with, but he also brings up other jazz records because he's much more into jazz than I am, that are of interest to me, plus just having his perspective as a 20-something, with this music. And I'm not sure he's a musician. A lot of times, people who are very much into music from an earlier era are musicians themselves, and that's where the appreciation comes from. I don't believe Donovan is a musician. Now, the guy at Soarin' Vinyl, who is into the psych music, is a musician, a guitar player. So I can see where that is. But those are three channels that I discovered and have begun watching in 2023. Okay, record I bought when I was a teenager. This is one, and it's my favorite Grateful Dead release, Working Man's Dead. I just love this record. It is just really exceptional. I like it better than American Beauty. It is wonderful. Although when I first bought it, it was on 8-track. I had the 8-track. I did not have it on vinyl. Didn't get that till later. But yeah, excellent record. All right, show a funk or soul record. This is a band and record that I don't see people talk about much, and that is the Chakachas, Jungle Fever. Yeah, this is some serious funk, and the last song on side 2, the title song, Jungle Fever, it's dirty. Yeah, it's almost like a porn soundtrack. But this is really good stuff. The Chakachas, Jungle Fever. They're kind of a blend of funk and Caribbean, almost reggae feel to it. But yeah, good stuff. All right, let's see. Show a record you think everyone has. Then show a record you think nobody has. Well, I mean, everybody has this record. I mean, if, of all the, whether you're only a partial Beatles collector or you're a big-time Beatles collector or whatever, I mean, or even just a casual or not even much of a Beatles fan, man, everybody has this, Abbey Road. I mean, this is, I honestly would be surprised if you have ever heard of it. Now, I've met young people who really don't know anything about the Beatles. But if you know anything about, if you collect records and you're into music as opposed to listening to MP3s, you're going to know about the Beatles. And I think pretty much everybody has a copy of Abbey Road. And then there's plenty of people who have more than one copy of Abbey Road. Now, a record, though, that I don't think anybody else has. This doesn't even have a cover because there was no cover for it. But this is a National Guard session radio show with Sarah Vaughan and the Woody Herman Orchestra. So, a Guard session label. This is show number 48. And let's see, is it 47 on the other side? Yes, 47 on the other side. Yeah. So you go into Discogs. The last time I looked, there was only one person who identified that they owned this album, and that person was me. So if there's more than one there now, then okay. But one of those people is me. All right, let's see, what is next? This is number 15, a record by a female artist that I bought in 2023. And that would be, this is one we reviewed in the Gunkles, Coco Taylor. I Got What It Takes. I mean, I already had a Coco Taylor album, but I didn't have this one, and this was a reissue for Record Store Day. Uses the Alligator label, and it's on this red vinyl. Just absolutely killer blues. And Coco Taylor can sing those blues. All right. My favorite videos in 2023, okay, of mine, a favorite video of mine, and then a favorite one that I watched. All right, the favorite one of mine is one that I posted October 12th this year, and that was my remembrance and homage to Matthew Shepard. And it's one of my favorite videos of all my videos. It's the favorite one of 2023 that I made. It also is one of the least watched videos of anything that I produced in 2023. So, but it is my favorite video. I really wanted to make that video, and did, and I enjoyed doing it. Now, a favorite video that I watched from another channel. This might be cheating a little bit because the channel is the Gunkles, okay? But I really do love the video of the Gunkles in Chicago. It's a great video. I love watching it. And it's also apparently a lot of other people really enjoy watching it. But yeah, that's from 2023. It's my favorite of another video, even though I'm in it. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm cheating a little. All right, question number 17. A record that I would describe as a 90s classic. Well, that would be this one. Slint's Spiderland. I mean, this is, what is it, from 1991. This is a classic. This is just an absolutely incredible album, a moment in time, because after they made this record and they disbanded before it was even released, which meant that they never toured it. So it never got any real promotion. It was one of those records that gradually over time would, sell enough that they would do a reissue, and then it would sell some more and they'd do another reissue. And gradually awareness about this album grew. But yeah, Slint, and the album is Spiderland from 1991. If you could walk into the cover, what would that be? Well, if I could walk into this cover, it would be this one. Pansy Division, Deflowered. Now, you asked, and I answered. All right, number 19, a record so familiar that it feels like a greatest hits album. Well, to me, the first record that came to mind, was this, The Who, Who's Next? I mean, from start to finish, so many damn good songs. It really does. It really does come off like a greatest hits compilation. And yet it's such a solid album, and it's an album. It's not a compilation. But yeah, that's my choice there. And then the final question, number 20, is an album released in 1974. So I can't remember what was released in, what year or whatever. So when I checked the list of records or albums released 1974, this was in the list, and this is the one I chose, Supertramp, Crime of the Century. Such an amazing album, such a brilliant album, such a far-seeing album, very prescient. To me, while I can admit there's a certain greatness about The Wall by Pink Floyd, Supertramp took up that theme long before Pink Floyd did, and I think did a better job. So, yeah, Crime of the Century, Supertramp. Also the record that really kind of blew them out of the water, out of obscurity and into the realm of superstardom. All right, so those are my answers to Rob Walker's questions on the vinyl tag for 2024. Hey, leave a comment in the Down Under. I do enjoy getting those comments. And you can also, I would appreciate if you follow me on Instagram. I go as NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE 76. I have a Facebook page called Calvin Wazoo, where I post not only these videos, but other music-related content. Hey, hit the like button. It helps with the distribution of my content. Certainly subscribe if you haven't already. I would appreciate that. But, hey, hitting the like button is probably even more important than subscribing. And then, as always, remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.